Welcome to today's math lesson. Our do now is we have to determine the rates of change and unit rate of each situation, and we're given a table as well as a graph. So looking at this table, we don't know whether it's proportional or non-proportional, so we're just going to use our slope formula, which is m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we're going to label 2 points on the table, x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to label 1 x1, and then $355 is y1. I'm going to label 3 x2, and $310 y2. And then from here, I'm going to plug in these numbers into this equation. So we have y2 is 310 minus y1, which is 355, over x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is 1. So now we have 310 minus 355, and that's going to be negative 45. And then 3 minus 1 is 2. So now we have to do negative 45 divided by 2, which is negative 22.5. So our unit rate, or our rate of change for this table, is negative 22.5. Then looking at this graph, we can see that it's a proportional relationship because it goes through the origin. And so that's going to be our first point that we're using to find our slope from, the origin. Then I have to identify another point that is at the intersection of the grid, or where the two gray lines meet. And this is my other point. And I'm going to count, or I'm going to have to find my change in y over my change in x. So I have to figure out what is the value that I moved up from here to here, and what is the value that I moved to the right. So from 0 to 12, the difference is 12. So my change in y values is 12 over, and then my change in x values is the distance I moved to the right. So from 0 to 10, 10 minus 0 is 10. So my change in x is 10. Now I have to divide 12 divided by 10, and that gives me 1.2. So my rate of change for my graph is going to be 1.2. Today's TEK is 8.4C. Our lesson target is that scholars will use data from a table to determine the rate of change and y-intercept in math and real-world problems. And your DOL is given 4 problems. Scholars will use that data from a table to determine the rate of change and y-intercept with 100% accuracy. So our academic vocabulary words include change of y over change of x. And in math, we use a triangle, the delta symbol, to represent change of. So we have change of y over change in x. And that is how we find our rate of change. Constant of proportionalities is the specific name for rate of change for proportional relationships, whereas slope is the name of the rate of change for non-proportional relationships. And you will find a y-intercept in non-proportional relationships. And this m is equal to rise over run is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is the slope formula. And then on the upper right hand, you'll see steps to writing non-proportional linear equations. So that is our equation in the form y equals mx plus b. And this is called slope-intercept form because you can identify what the slope is as well as the y-intercept from this equation. So our first step is to find the slope. Then we have to write the equation with the slope. And lastly, we're plugging in the point to work backwards to find our y-intercept. So this problem reads, an indoor soccer club charges a membership fee plus an additional fee per soccer class. The table shows the linear relationship between the number of soccer classes taken and the total costs, including the membership fee. What is the additional fee and membership fee the club charges? And so the membership fee is going to be our y-intercept. And because we see the keyword per right here, that's going to tell us that whatever our additional fee is, that is our slope in our equation. And so our first step is we have to find out what our slope is. And to do that, we're going to have to use the equation y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then I'm going to label 2 points in this table, x1, y1, x2, y2. So if I'm using 2, 60, 2 is going to be my x1, 60 is going to be my y1. If I'm using 4, 90, 4 is going to be my x2, 90 is going to be my y2. And then I'm plugging in these values into this equation right here. So I have y2 is 90 minus y1, which is 60. x2 is 4 minus x1, which is 2. And now we have to solve. 90 minus 60 is 30. 4 minus 2 is 2. And 30 divided by 2 is 15. So my slope is 15. And in this situation, the membership fee is $15. From here, I'm going to write my equation with that slope. So instead of writing y is equal to mx plus b, I'm going to write y is equal to 15x plus b because I know that my slope is 15. So we have, I write a lot slower than I talk. Okay, now from here, I'm going to choose a point from this table to plug into this equation. So I'm going to choose one of the points that I already labeled so I know what my x and y values are. So my y is 60. So I have 60 is equal to 15 times my x, which is 2, plus b. So from here, I have 60 is equal to 15 times 2 is 30 plus b. And I can solve this one of two ways. I can either think 30 plus what number makes 60, or I can solve it the math way. I see that I'm adding 30 and it's positive 30, so the opposite of positive 30 is negative 30, or subtracting by 30. And that's what I'm going to do to both sides of the equation. 60 minus 30 is 30. 30 minus 30 is 0. So then I have b is equal to 30. So b is my y-intercept. In this case, it is the So I was mistaken earlier that our y-intercept, the membership fee is $30, and the additional fee, what we found first, is the $15. So to answer this question at the bottom, what is the difference between the membership fee and the additional fee? The additional fee has to be paid every soccer class. So depending on the number of soccer classes, you have to pay that additional fee. The membership fee is just a one-time fee, and a one-time fee is going to be your y-intercept. So the membership fee is your y-intercept because it's a one-time fee. It's an initial fee. In this case, additional fee represents your slope because that changes depending on the number of soccer classes you take in this situation. This is a similar problem. We're given a table. We have to find the unit rate, which is either the slope or the constant of proportionality, depending on whether this is a proportional or non-proportional relationship. We have to figure out what our y-intercept is and then write an equation from here. So I'm going to start by finding the slope. And to do that, I have to label 2 points. So if I'm using the points 1, 18, 1 is going to be my x1, 18 is going to be my y1. If I'm using 2, 21, 2 is going to be my x2, and 21 is going to be my y2. And then I'm using the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And x2 in this case is 21, so I'm subtracting 21 minus my x1, which is 18. And then I have, or y1, which is 18, then I'm doing x2 minus x1. My x2 is 2, my x1 is 1. So now I have 21 minus 18, which is 3, and 2 minus 1, which is 1. So 3 divided by 1 is 3. And so I have my slope, which is 3. And from here, I'm going to write my equation as y is equal to, instead of mx plus b, I'm going to write 3x plus b. So I'm just replacing my m with the 3. And then I have to choose a point. I'm going to choose 1, 18 since I already have it labeled and plug it in to this equation. So we have y is equal to 3x plus b. Our y value is 18. So I have 18 is equal to 3 times, in this case, our x is 1. So 3 times 1 plus b. Then I have 18 is equal to 3 times 1 is 3, 3 plus b. So I can solve this by thinking of what number plus 3 makes 18, or I can do the opposite operation, also called the inverse operation. So the opposite of positive 3 is negative 3. So I'm going to write minus 3 on both sides of the equal to sign. 18 minus 3 is 15. 3 minus 3 is 0, so I have b is equal to 15. And from here, I'm going to combine this information to write my equation. So I have y is equal to 3x. And because my y-intercept is positive, I'm going to add that number. So I'm going to add 15. So my final equation is y is equal to 3x plus 15. So this next I do is a word problem, but it's essentially the same skill. Jamal wants to take hip hop lessons at a local dance studio. The local dance studio has a prize chart that shows the total cost based on the number of lessons people take. The total cost includes the membership plus the cost per lesson. So what is the membership cost? The membership cost is going to be our y-intercept because that's a one-time fee. And then the cost per lesson is indicative or tells us that that is our slope. So to start, I have to label my points, x1, y1, x2, y2, and I'm writing out my slope formula to solve for my slope. So if I'm choosing 1, 15, I'm going to label 1 my x1, 15 my y1. If I'm choosing 3, 25, I'm labeling 3 my x2, and 25 my y2. And from here, I'm going to plug in these numbers into the equation. So y2 is 25. We're subtracting that by y1, which is 15, over x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is 1. And then from here, I'm going to subtract. 25 minus 15 is 10. 3 minus 1 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So that means that my slope is 5. And in this case, the slope is the cost per lesson. So it costs $5 per lesson. And then from here, I'm going to have to write an equation with 5 as my slope. So we have y is equal to 5x plus b. And now I have to choose a point. I'm going to choose 1, 15 since I already have that labeled and plug it back into this equation. So my y value is going to be 15. My x value is 1, so then I have 5 times 1 plus b. So then we have 15 is equal to 5 times 1 is 5 plus b. So I can solve this by thinking what number plus 5 is equal to 15, or I can do the opposite operation. So the opposite of positive 5 is negative 5. So I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides of the equal to symbol. 15 minus 5 is 10. 5 minus 5 is 0. So I have b is equal to 10. So that means that the membership cost, so the one-time fee that you're paying, is $10. If I were to combine this information to write my equation, it would be y is equal to 5x plus 10. And it's plus 10 because our y-intercept was positive. So when we're given word problems and we're given a table, sometimes we're going to have to figure out in the question if they're asking us to figure out the unit rate or the y-intercept. And how we can figure that out is the keywords. So in this word problem, Carolyn will buy the same number of stamps every month. The number of stamps is going to be your slope because you have the keyword every. So that makes the initial number of stamps that her grandfather had given her the y-intercept. Over here, when it says an archery club charges a membership fee plus an additional fee per archery class, our keyword is the word per. So the additional fee is going to be our slope. And the membership fee, that one-time membership fee, is going to be the y-intercept. So some keywords you may see are each, every, per. Thank you so much for following along in today's math lesson. Now you have to do your Google form for question DOL. I'll see you in the next math video.